Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Wolf-Watz and I am the self-published author of 4 books and 2 tour guides. Today I'm going to talk about choosing to write in your second language and what it's like to write in your second language, kind of tips and tricks that I found useful from my writing. First of all, when you decide what language to write in, ask yourself how proficient are you in your second language. And I think that you don't have to be an expert. People might disagree heavily with me on this, but I don't think you have to be an expert to write in a language. And I think you improve your language skills when you start writing in that language. I know I have improved my English skills by writing in English. Usually I read in English, both during my university studies and also my preferred language to read fiction in is English because I prefer to read in original language, and a lot of books that are published today are by American, Canadian, British writers. So for me it's quite natural to write in English. I did most of my degrees in English as well, so I've gotten used to writing in English. I've lived in New Zealand and England as well. For me it comes kind of naturally. And I really do believe that when you are living in a country and you are constantly surrounded by a language, you pick it up, and if you can use it for your writing, you're going to get even better at it. So it's a great way to learn a language. The opposite, unfortunately, also holds true. If you are in a country and you are not surrounded by the language that you intend to write in, it's a lot more difficult to keep your proficiency level up, I find anyway, especially during this 2020 2021. It's been a pain. There is very little room for travel, and that causes some problems for me. Like, personally I love traveling, but I also like to be surrounded by English, and I do notice how my English skills deteriorate. The less time I spend immersed in English, the worse my English gets. It's not as bad in writing as it is in, like, for speech. My English is not at the level that it was like 2 years ago because I have not been able to surround myself with English. I will say that video, music, TV, internet, those things are great for getting into a language, but it's not the same as being constantly surrounded by language the way you are when you are living in a country where they speak that language. TV, books, video, other kinds of media will make up for some of that, but not entirely. So I'm very happy that I've done most of my writing and editing for this book series while I was still kind of fresh when it came to English. Now I feel a bit like, not jet lagged, but language lagged. Like, it's a strange feeling when you can't travel, you can't keep your skills up to the level that you're used to having them. So but if you are living in a country where they do speak that language that you intend to write in, I think it's great, even if it's your second language. Like, you will pick it up really quickly, and you will learn so many other things about that language. It really gives you an opportunity to go into depth when you're learning another language. And I think that it also adds to the language. I think books written by people who are not native speakers can actually bring something to the table for people who are native speakers. I think when you are used to a certain language and you are suddenly writing in a different language, you tend to bring things from your native language into the new language, and sometimes that works great, sometimes not so great. But I think it's a great way of playing with communication and playing with words. I enjoy reading stories by people who are not native speakers of English, for instance. I think it's great fun if I'm on Wattpad and I'm reading different stories. Sometimes the language is great even though the person is not a native speaker. Sometimes it's not so great, but it doesn't matter because the story is so interesting and so involving that, who cares if they've misspelled a few things, or if they're not using the right prepositions, or if the collocations are all over the place. Like, who cares? It's the story, I think, that is most important. If you are trying to write the next great novel, of course, you will probably be better off using your first language. But why limit yourself to just one language? I find that different languages take different pathways in my brain, so that a story feels a bit different depending on what language I am writing or reading it in. So I think it's great when you are multilingual that you can choose which language fits the story best. Kind of get that nuance right away when you're writing. I really think that improves the experience of writing, and I hope it improves the experience of reading. I think so anyway. Now, I know people will be like, oh my god, I'm not good enough at this language to write in it. But I think that if you have a story and you feel like it should be in a certain language, you can absolutely get that good at writing in that language. You just have to practice. And I also think that a lot of people who are native speakers do not know their own language very well. I'm Swedish, so I see it in Swedish. I see a lot of people using the wrong idioms, the wrong collocations, like misspell things. In English, for instance, you write, if you have a combined word, like a word that's combined by several words, you put like a space between all of them. But in Swedish, we put them all together. We can make super long words, like they can go on forever. And because English is now such an influence on our language, we tend to also like space between the words. We have like in an English spelling, it's super funny because it changes the meaning of the word completely. And it's one of the things that annoy Swedes the most, is when other people make this sort of space in between words. So I think everyone makes mistakes, and if you're a native speaker you might make fewer, but I can guarantee you that you are making mistakes. And you don't think about it because it's your language, so who cares? It's like you can do with it what you please. And I notice in English writing as well, like there's a lot of people who write there are a lot of people who write stuff like, I could care less. And that doesn't make any sense. That's just not... The expression is I couldn't care less. Otherwise, the expression is just you could what? You could care less, but you don't care less, or you do care less, or what? What are you trying to say? And some British writers would claim that Americans can't write at all. No, and the other way around, because it's we take a language and then we change it a bit. Like American spelling is different from British spelling. Why? I don't know. If you talk to Americans, they usually say it's to make it simpler, but it doesn't make it simpler, it just makes everyone else confused. But, that's up to you guys to take a language and you use it, and it changes and it shifts, and sometimes there's a right and a wrong, but no one cares, and sometimes there isn't a right or wrong because the language is evolving. So I think the best tip I can give is to write the story in the language that belongs to the story, and if you don't feel like you're good enough, then practice and rewrite and edit. And there are so many spell check programs. You can hire an editor. There's so many ways to write a story in your second language, and I find it personally really rewarding to do so, because it feels like I'm not just writing a story, I'm also improving my language skills, and that's that's just another benefit to it. Also, if you are not a native English speaker, English is a language that reaches so many people, so it makes it easier to just reach readers if you can write in English. And I touched upon this before, but sometimes your language, the way that you write in the book, the way that you tell the story is unique because it is your second language. We all have our individual relationship with our native language, as well as our second language or third language, fourth language if you're very good at languages. And I think that really makes the way that you tell a story unique, and you want to have a unique voice when you're telling stories. You want people to be able to see that, okay, this story is made by this person because I recognize the way that it's written. So I think the more unique you can be, the more authentic you can be, the better for your books and also for your own personal happiness. Because I think just exploring a new language or choosing to believe that you are good enough to write, even if it's a second language, just makes the experience of writing so much better. And I think also that the readers will pick up on that and be like, oh my god, this is a person who really has a story to tell and has chosen to tell it in this way. There's a reason you choose to write in a certain language. Then you feel like, okay, this language will be better suited to tell this story than this other language. That is my native language, but it's not what's best suited for this story. I want to tell it in this language, and I want to tell it in my version of this language. So those are my thoughts on writing in your second language. Anyway, please let me know your thoughts, your ideas in the comments below. And if you are writing in your second language or third language, or if you've tried writing in both your first language and your second language, and your thoughts on that, because I'd love to hear from you how you do it and what you enjoy. So tip number 1, believe that you are proficient enough to write in a language, or that you can learn to be anyway as you go along. Second tip is try to immerse yourself in the language that you want to write in. And third, trust yourself that you have chosen the right language for your story, and enjoy the uniqueness that writing in a second language brings to your storytelling. Alright, that's it. Like, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you next time. Bye!